Eddie Hearn has been getting a lot of criticism lately about the fact that Nathan Cleverly, Tony Bellew 2 will probably be pay-per-view. It's not 100%. Eddie Hearn says it's still a little bit up in the air, but it probably will be pay-per-view. Now, his response to the critics is that you're not just paying for Cleverly Bellew, the rematch. You're also going to have a very stacked undercard with lots of 50-50 fights. But me personally, the fights that he's mentioned, along with Cleverly Bellew, that's not something that I'd want to put my hand in my pocket and pay for. Or pay extra for, because people who are subscribed to Sky have to pay a subscription anyway. Right? Then they have to pay for Sky Sports, and then they're going to pay pay-per-view on top of it. It's a lot of money to fork out. And that fight is not interesting enough to me to make me want to put my hand in my pocket. I don't know how everyone else feels. I guess most people probably feel the same. So I understand that on a subscription network like Sky, they don't have the audience that ITV had back in the days. ITV is a channel in the UK which is free, a free-to-air channel. And ITV, for some fights, will get 17 million viewers for a fight. So they didn't need pay-per-view because the advertising revenue alone more than covered the cost of paying for the fighters' purses and the venue and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Sky and any subscription service, they don't have that kind of viewership. So when it comes to putting on big events, they have to have pay-per-view. That's just the commercial reality of it. To be able to pay everyone what they want, they have to put on pay-per-view. So I can understand from a commercial point of view why subscription services need it. But from a fan's point of view, you know, you look at a fight like that, Bellew Cleverly, the rematch, and you think, no way, I don't want to pay extra for that. So that's the situation. It's almost like a standoff between the audience and the broadcaster. What are the audience willing to pay? Is the fight worth the money that the broadcaster is offering? Maybe they'll offer a cheaper price for this particular pay-per-view if it is pay-per-view. I definitely won't be buying it whatever price it is. I mean, I'm not even in the UK at the moment anyway, and but you know, even if I was, I wouldn't be paying for it because it's just not worth it. That card, Bellew Cleverly 2, nah, man. You need to come better than that if you're going to charge pay-per-view. And a lot of people are worried about this trend in pay-per-view when it comes to Eddie Hearn cards. And I've said this about Eddie Hearn before, but I think that he is probably the best boxing promoter that I've seen in British boxing during my lifetime. He's the best in terms of the fact that he's got British boxing buzzing again. He's brought a tremendous amount of attention back to British boxing. So I have to give Eddie Hearn a lot of credit. I think he's done a hell of a lot good for the sport. But I'm not saying the guy's perfect. This whole pay-per-view situation could be the one major problem about Eddie Hearn. And people are saying increasingly it's a situation where the only time you're going to see a competitive 50-50 matchup between two quality fighters on an Eddie Hearn card is when it's pay-per-view. Whenever he shows, you know, whenever his events are free, or I mean not free, but whenever they're non-pay-per-view, they're not going to be competitive fights and they're not going to be high-level fighters involved in those fights. You know, this is what people are saying. That may be the case. I hope it's not the case. I certainly hope it's not the case. But drop your comments below, man. Let me know how you feel about the whole situation with Eddie Hearn and pay-per-view and all this kind of stuff. I made a video recently about Al Heyman potentially bringing boxing back on free TV in America. I'd love something like that to happen in the UK, but I think one of the things that really killed boxing in the UK on terrestrial television, well, two things killed it really. On ITV, the tragedies that happened really killed it. The tragedies with Gerald McClellan and several other fighters who got seriously injured, that made ITV shy away from boxing. And then the Audley Harrison situation on BBC, that made them shy away from boxing. They said no more boxing after that. So I don't know whether there's been a change of the guard since then. I don't know how viable it is to get boxing back on terrestrial TV. Obviously, you have Channel 5, but Channel 5 are nowhere near as big as ITV. So they really can't put on any kind of big event. ITV put on many big events back in the 90s. Huge events ITV were able to put on. And the BBC, but especially ITV with people like Prince Nassim and Nigel Benn and, you know, guys like that. So, I don't know, man. Drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel about Eddie Hearn and his pay-per-view situation. And in fact, I'm not sure how much say Eddie Hearn has over pay-per-view as well. I mean, if Eddie Hearn wanted an event to be pay-per-view and Sky didn't want the event to be pay-per-view, then obviously it's not going to be pay-per-view. At the end of the day, Sky are more powerful than Eddie Hearn. So what they want goes when all's said and done. So maybe it's a bit harsh to blame Eddie Hearn for everything. I don't know how much control he really has over that situation, or how much influence or impact he has on whether something becomes pay-per-view or not. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know, you know? So, yeah, drop your comments below, man. Let me know how you feel. This is Hat Man, I'm out.